Welcome to Connect with Citizens. I'm your host, Doug Filarowski. I'm here today with Adam Marmelstein, Director of Market Services, who oversees Citizens Depopulation Program. That's the program in which Citizens transfers its customers' policies to private insurers the way the Florida legislature intended when it created Citizens back in 2002. Legislators believe the insurance market works best when policies are in the hands of private insurers. Toward that end, Citizens recently dipped below 1 million policies for the first time in a couple of years. Congratulations, Adam, and welcome to Connect with Citizens.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, Citizens still remains the state's largest property insurer, but I guess we're headed in the right direction. Well, for people who are unaware, could you just explain to us what the Depopulation Program is?
Certainly. As you mentioned, the Depopulation Program is designed to help citizens be what citizens should be, which is the insurer of last resort. And that means having as few policies as possible. Mm-hmm. So depopulation focuses on taking those policies which have come to citizens at a time when perhaps they weren't appealing to the private market, right, and returning them to the private market. Mm-hmm. And we do that primarily by working with private insurers, mm-hmm, sending them information about our policies, a great deal of data, which then they analyze and go through and pick ones that they think are attractive. Right. And then they work with us to send that information to the policyholders, mm-hmm, and the policyholders are either required to be non-renewed with Citizens, depending on the pricing of the private carrier's offers, and we can talk about that later if it's of interest, or they can elect to, if not required to. And by that mechanism, we've eliminated almost 500,000 policies in 2024 from Citizens.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As I said in the opening, we're now below 1 million policies, which is a great benchmark. Why do you think we're seeing this move in this direction? We're going in the right direction, as I said.
Yeah, it's a result of a lot of hard work and a lot of years of hard work. Mm-hmm. The biggest change in the marketplace over the last few years has been a result of the legislative reforms that Citizens has pushed so hard for over the years to create an environment that makes it difficult for bad actors to profit from activities involving suing insurance companies. Right. So specifically AOB reform, again, something that one could
Assignment of benefits.
Assignment of benefits,
yeah,
exactly.
Those contracts that policyholders can enter with third parties, and they sort of take control of the claims.
Correct. And I apologize for using a TLA. Yeah. That's a 3-letter acronym. So yes, assignment of benefits. Yeah. And that was a big deal because you had people who weren't the insured getting involved for the sole purpose of wringing money out of the insurance companies. Mm-hmm. Following up on that success, the legislature made the laws in Florida much more similar to laws in other states regarding attorneys' fees.
Right, that's the other big thing. Yeah.
Big deal. It mm-hmm. can't be profitable for people to take cases just for the sake of making money. So that's had a big effect. Our CEO, Tim, just spoke to the Senate Finance and Banking Committee about it. The rate at which we're being sued is down dramatically as intended. And as a result, that creates an environment where insurance companies and the investors who back them are willing to put their capital into play in Florida and offer policies, and more importantly, offer policies at a premium that is competitive with Citizens. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest reason why we've seen so many policies leave Citizens and go to the private market where they should be.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you had mentioned earlier, the mechanism by which the customer policies go from Citizens to the private insurers. How do they decide which policies they're willing to take? How do we assist them in that process?
Well, we do a couple things. How they decide, of course, they would tell you is entirely their own special mechanism. But honestly, they take the data that we provide, and they go through it. They have their own actuaries and their own propeller heads, for lack of a better phrase, who try to determine which policies fill in the risks profiles that they have. They, of course, have to buy reinsurance. They use depopulation not just to increase the size of their book, but to offset riskier areas of the state with less risky areas. They use it to get the most bang for their buck out of their contracts. And what we do for them is we try to make it as simple as possible. So we develop the data, we share the data, they send the offers, we compare the offers, we do the calculations as to whether or not they have rendered a risk ineligible to non-renew. We collect the responses through our website. We notify the policyholders of the non-renewal. So we try to make it as simple as possible for the insurers to participate in the program. And I think that's another reason that it's been so successful. Very low barrier to entry.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so they must be finding those risks they're willing to assume, because as we mentioned earlier, our numbers are going down. We're down below 1 million. We've had some things put in place that make the market more appealing to private insurers. But where do you see this all going, say maybe in the next year or longer?
Yeah, I think the next year we continue to build on the successes of 2024. There were a half dozen or so entirely new entrants into the depopulation space last year. We were able to get rid of almost $250 billion of exposure. Wow. And that's a huge win. People tend to think of it as a win for the carriers, right? They get business, they get some money up front, unearned premium. But the biggest win is for the policyholders and the people of Florida, because of course Citizens has the right to assess if we have a shortfall. And the less business we have on the books, the less likelihood of an assessment, which means the less likelihood that Floridians are going to have to pay more. So I think it continues. The market should stay healthy. We've got the legislative session coming up now. Nobody ever knows what's going to come out of that, but I don't see anything getting in the way of continued success in 2025.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. As I said, this whole notion of depopulation is kind of an interesting concept. Appreciate you coming in and explaining that to us. That'll do it for this edition of Connect with Citizens. We'll see you next time.